Hi, welcome everyone. We don't have intro music or anything like that, so it might be kind of awkwardly quiet as folks start entering from the waiting room, but we're excited to have everybody here. And we'll get started in just a moment. I'm working on getting us up and streaming onto our Facebook, and we'll get started shortly. All right, here we are. Okay, so without further ado, what I will do is go ahead and get us started. Folks, welcome everyone. Welcome to our Northside Business Luncheon. This month, our focus is, or our topic is creative entrepreneurs. And we're really excited to have our panelists here. And so you'll hear a little bit more about them. My name is Felicia Perry. I am the executive director of the West Broadway Business Association. We are a business association located in North Minneapolis, serving businesses across the North Side, and focusing a lot of creative placemaking work here on the corridor. Really excited to have you all at our monthly luncheon. We host these and partner with Neon in order to put these on every month. And we welcome a great group of business owners, entrepreneurs, and solopreneurs, and quite a few residents across the Twin Cities to these luncheons every month to learn, to network, and to do all this really great stuff to grow and sustain your business. So welcome. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to WBC Program Manager, Brian McLaurin.
Thank you, Felicia, and welcome to all of you today. We have a lot to get to today, so we're going to jump right in. We're going to detour just a little bit from our agenda because we have some updates we want to provide. I initially want to turn it over to Terry Austin, who's going to provide us with updates from Neon. Terry, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Brian. Terry Austin. I work with Neon here as the Community Engagement Manager. I just want to give some quick updates. If anyone on the call or within the community is looking to start a business or just thinking about business in general, just want more information on how to get started, we need you to get involved with Neon as quickly as possible and just stop by. You don't have to have your plan already fleshed out. There are some funds and grants available. So I would strongly encourage those of us, young and old, if you have a business or interested in starting a business, please contact Neon. Use us as a resource to get started as well. Development grants are available, loans are available as well. And so there are some commercial things that's available too. So please reach out to us. Just go to neon.com and you can get all the information on the website, or either you can contact myself as well. So that's all that I have, Brian. I know we have a lot of information to get to, so we can move on from there.
Terry, before I let you go, do you want to touch on the public safety roundtable that we're working on, or is it too early to have?
Yeah, a great question, Brian. I know Ms. Perry and I are fleshing out some details. We will have more information probably tomorrow to flesh out to everyone. So be on the lookout for that as far as an email and an invite. We're looking at having some roundtable discussions, particularly around some of the violence issues that's happening in our community. So we want to make sure to take as much information as possible concerning our business owners, their concerns, and also with the Blue Line as well. So we want to make sure that they have all the information that's pertinent to making good business decisions and looking at the future and what that's going to look like as well. So we'll get that information out to you possibly by tomorrow.
Thank you so much for that, Terry. Just a couple of other updates from WBC. Next month's topic, on July 15th, will be digital marketing. So please be on the lookout for information concerning that luncheon. Again, we're all excited about that as well. I don't know if any of you have been in the area of West Broadway between Fremont and DuPont, but you may notice out there, you see some construction going on out there. What we found out is that is work on the D-Line project. Route 5, they're making some changes. Carla will hopefully can grab that link and drop it in there so you can get more information about what's going on. The biggest thing and biggest concern is it is affecting parking for those businesses along Broadway there. So we want you to be mindful of that. Maybe give yourself a little extra time if you plan on doing business along the West Broadway corridor, again, between Fremont and DuPont. One more bit of information we want to get to, and it was on our agenda, but is Miss Kenna Cottman in the audience? Okay. Felicia, can I have a solid from you if you're out there? Felicia, we want, oh, there she is. Can you just give them a quick update about Flow? That's what Keno was planning to do today, so you guys know more about it than I do.
Yes. I'm trying to do so much in the background here. But yeah, so this year's Flow Northside Arts Crawl is happening in July. I know a lot of folks are either wondering or looking forward to our annual 3-day arts festival. And what better group to tell this to than a group of folks interested in creative entrepreneurship. So Carla or I, one of us will put the link in the chat so that you can go on Facebook and RSVP that you'll be there on that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the last weekend in July. But what Keno also wanted to do is invite folks, artists, to apply for our artist call. So we'll also drop the information for the Flow email where you can contact Kenna Cottman in order to participate. So let's see here. Anything else, really important details on Flow that I missed? I feel like I'm getting.
No, I think you provided a great update, better than I could have. Absolutely. Without further ado, I must be honest, I am excited about our panelists today. I have my own personal reasons for my excitement that I'll share later, but I want to introduce you all to these amazing people today. First, let's start with introductions. Our first panelist is Amanda Cortez. Amanda works at the intersection of racial justice, grassroots community development, art, and culture. She is the proud daughter of Mexican immigrants and draws inspiration from her upbringing in working class Latinx communities. Her practice includes speech communication, civic engagement, mediation, artist career coaching, and audio storytelling. Amanda's independent work explores alternative models of community-owned real property with the Pilsen Housing Cooperative, a newly formed limited equity co-op for artists and working families on Chicago's Lower West Side. Amanda serves on the board of the Metropolitan Regional Arts Council, continues her work coaching artists and creatives as an artist career consultant at Springboard, and is a member of the Chicago ACT Collective. Amanda, would you please wave to the audience, please?
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Next, we have Mr. Kino Eval. He is the founder and director of Black Table Arts Cooperative located in South Minneapolis. Evol is the editor of A Garden of Black Joy, Global Poetry from the Edges of Liberation and Living. At his core, he is a facilitator of empathy and imagination. Black Table Arts is a community-driven arts cooperative located in Minneapolis, Minnesota, gathering Black communities through arts toward better Black futures. Makes bold the connection between art and grassroots organizing by providing programs that invite local artists to see themselves as change makers and organizers of their collective liberation. Kino Eval work hones in on the literary arts and the Black radical tradition as curriculum for the future. Eval has received the Verdi grant, he'll correct me on that, the Beyond the Pure Fellowship, the Emerging Writers Grant, and the Spoken Word Immersion Fellowship for his work. His essays are available at minnesotaartist.com through the Walker Art Center. Mr. Kino, would you please wave to the audience, please?
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be here.
Thank you for being here. Last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Bruce Williams. Bruce is a multimedia genius, entrepreneur, comedian, and yoga instructor committed to cause-related projects and economic development within his community. In 2011, he established HumanLuminous, a multimedia firm in North Minneapolis, which has expanded across the United States and internationally. As an owner of a multimedia firm, Bruce has mastered the art of leveraging multiple mediums of expression and communication. Bruce has firsthand experience building a company from the ground up and can empathize with the challenges that entrepreneurs face when they are required to wear many hats outside of their professional scope of work. He offers solutions and strategies that elevate his client's vision from conception to mainstream success as measurable in revenue outputs, growth, and sustainability. Although this facet of his work requires a ton of creativity, mental focus, and careful attention, Bruce has created the perfect blueprint that gives needed time back to entrepreneurs to do what they do best. Mr. Williams, would you please wave to our audience?
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here today. We're going to jump right in because we have a lot of information that we want to get to, and I really want you all to have adequate time to respond to our questions today. And so here's the first question. What are some common misconceptions on making a living as an artist?
Anybody at a time, just jump
right
in.
in. Jump right in. This is very casual, man. We just chatting it up.
Reading this question, the first things that popped up were maybe stereotypes of artists are that they're lazy or they're broke, which is not always the case because a lot of times, especially nowadays, artists have multiple things that they do. There's multiple modalities of an artist, which means there's multiple ways for them to actually make money. And if you're doing multiple things, it's kind of hard to call you lazy. So I think those are two of the most common in my thought process, most common misconceptions of an artist is that they broke and they're lazy. Artists work very hard, and artists are a lot of times smart enough to know that they need more than their art to get to the point to where it's only their art.
Good answer.
I think one of the most common misconceptions that I've seen is that working like an artist is supposed to look one way. And I think sometimes sort of breaking the mold out of what that looks like is what really, one of the best answers is. And that you can really kind of transform any sort of opportunity for community engagement into an art project. I think a lot of people don't consider themselves artists. They really are. I'm guilty of that as well. So I, try to take my own advice, but to be creative in the ways that we just kind of put ourselves out into the world.
Yeah, I love this question. I'm thinking about the work that we do at Black Table Arts, and I'm thinking about the ways in which artists help people find common cause. And like when we're talking about getting artists together, we're talking about a community self-determination, and like thinking about the ways in which sometimes people think about the artist producing art, and that the sort of reward or the sort of evidence that someone is an artist is by only the product at the end. But the process is so very important in that when we're talking about those processes, we're also talking about a community's history, a community's the ideas that they have for how they want to do things locally. But I say that to say that that is to be valued, and that is to be supported, and so, but like to make that connection, I guess what I'm saying is between product and process, and that process is so very important.
You guys are not letting me down. We're off to a good start. Next question. How do you establish yourself as a creative consultant, as someone who can make a living from this profession?
I can go first. I feel like one of the sort of basic building blocks is to really know where you're coming from, and to have some sort of really sort of rooted sense of why you want to work with folks. Something that comes from a place of, I don't want to use the word genuineness, but is really like at the core and the center of who you are, and how you sort of navigate in the world. I used to do this work for free for a very long time, which is something I don't recommend. I'm originally from Chicago. The funding landscape is very different there than it is here. And I feel like I found possibility here in Minnesota that wasn't present there. At the same time, I feel like who you exchange labor with, I think has a lot to do with whether you do something and whether you see it as for free. I know Felicia has like really strong opinions on this, and I love being in dialogue with her about this. I think she has changed a lot of how I see this. But for me, it was finding a community that shared sort of my values and vision, and knowing that we have to be here to survive capitalism, but at the same time, we're looking for new pathways and avenues. So one of the ways is obviously creating relationships and connections. And the way that I feel like I've done that best is like hyper locally. And then moving kind of out, I kind of coexist between two cities, Chicago, well, three, I guess, Chicago, St. Paul, and Minneapolis. And so creating relationships in all of those, although, it is difficult to navigate, that's for sure. And not becoming overstretched becomes a thing. So that's, what I can offer. And the other thing is knowing that, I am not an expert. I am trying things just like everyone else is. And I'm trying to sort of like hone my values and keep my values present at the forefront of that work while doing it, which sometimes is challenging.
I would say I would agree with Amanda with her saying basically become a specialist, figure out what it is your specialty is. And it's probably rooted in the things that you have done your whole life, or the things that you do for free, the things that you would do for free. And then also show your work, whatever that looks like to you, but show your work and then continue to learn, because a lot of times people are looking for a consultant because they don't want to do the research. They want somebody already to have the research done, or somebody that's already in that learning curve to do the research for them. And then they'll pay you to consult. You are basically doing the homework for them. That's what a consultant is. So yeah, I would just piggyback off of Amanda to say, find your specialty, do it, show that you can do it, because a lot of times you think that you have a lot of work to do, and you probably do, but there's somebody who hasn't even started. And so you have information that they don't have yet.
Yeah, I love that point. And I would just add that, don't let your anxiety convince you that you aren't someone that deserves to be listened to. And to really take the time and have fun in naming the art, and know that as an artist, you come out of a tradition of other artists, and taking as many stories of those artists as you can. And that's a joyful thing. And take notes and think about how do you want to, as one of my mentors, E.G. Bailey says, how do you want to push that tradition of art forward, right? But I think, yeah, don't let your anxiety convince you that you're not someone deserving of an artistic practice because you're just getting started. And think about what does the schedule of that particular discipline require, and try to your best ability to hold yourself accountable to really digging into that craft.
Hey, Brian, do you mind if I just jump in real quick here?
Absolutely.
Great answers. One of the questions that I would pose to the group is, as a creative consultant in your space, how do you help young entrepreneurs dictate their value on how do they charge or for their services? Because a lot of times people may come in having a great craft, but they don't know where to charge, and they may start charging someone with 15 years or 10 years experience and think, well, my work is a little bit better and this looks a little better than theirs, so I'm gonna charge what they charge. So can you help the audience understand where to start from? How do you start with pricing or charging of fees?
I think that generally speaking, there's a baseline number that you could Google and say, hey, what does a painter I don't know, just something general to specifically what you do. There's a baseline. And then from there, you just kind of gauge where you are in that. And it might be a matter of your own personal self-esteem. Like sometimes I even have to raise my own prices because I'm like, you know what? I'm not getting the value for the work that it is that I'm putting in. So a lot of times I look for a general number, and then I start to also calculate like what all goes into what it is that I'm doing. What all resources did I have to acquire in order to even offer this service? Did I have to go to school for 4 years? Did I have to buy this piece of equipment that costs $10,000? All of those things should go factor into what you charge. But ultimately, it's kind of you that places the value on the work that you do. And so you could either value it really, really high and charge $1 million and get 2 or 3 clients, or you could put it really, really low and get 1 million clients and make $2 or $3.
I like that. Felicia Perry is our resident expert, in-house expert, and she put an interesting question that I think fits here. So before I move on, I want to ask this question. How do you all find or identify your niche in the creative world that's so full of brilliant and talented folks? Keno, you just like wow, man, did I get you with that one? So how do you insert yourself in amongst all these brilliant and talented people?
Yeah, well, we're in a community, not a competition, and really this work, I think, is about going towards what gives us joy. I think we are the artistic practice that gives us joy, and figure out, and then, think about what are the skill sets or the teaching of that particular thing. But yeah, the people doing the, things. So I have to figure out something new to be worthy in a market economy. It's more so being able to absorb stories, and thinking about how you do the thing in your own unique way. It's sort of like a cipher in that, since where everybody, everybody's rapping, or everybody's an MC, or everybody's a dancer in a cipher, but it's like, how are you showing up to the circle in your particular unique way. And then that just comes by doing a thing, you know, by doing your particular thing. So yeah, I think that's what I would add to that. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times there is no need to insert yourself. You're pretty much creating your own thing, especially if it's specific to you. Your niche is specific to the things that you've done or the things that you've built. And a lot of times there's not other people that have been through your same experiences. That's what a niche is. There's something that is an inch wide and a mile deep. So it seems like a small group of people, but when you look at it, there's a lot of things or resources or avenues that you can travel inside of that. So I really feel like you don't insert yourself anywhere. You just go and you do you, and then you realize you're creating your own path.
Great answers.
I feel like one of the ways that I naturally gravitate towards people is when I see that they're doing similar than me. I have to echo, I don't see it as a competition. I say, how can we collaborate? How can I learn from them? How can they learn from me? And then how can we sort of join forces and make something that's even better? I feel like, that is the healthy way to sort of grow a more holistic community of people. And I think that it's a reciprocity that we're working in a circle, rather than kind of like, let's push folks out of the way so that I can shine. It's like, no, we shine together. We will attract more resources if we work together. So, for example, if there are two cultural spaces that open up across from each other, rather than, just kind of be like the cold shoulder, the things that I've seen the work the best is walk across the street, introduce yourself, have coffee, and say, hey, we should take Friday night and we should do a Friday night event. Maybe at our single spaces at the same time. We're gonna attract folks. We're gonna create community, and maybe we could even do something that's collaborative in the future. But that that's the way. If I was posed this question by an artist who was sitting in consultation with me, that would be the advice that I would give.
Great.
One quick note to the group. Amanda, how has technology played a part in, has technology and new applications, has that hindered your business at all, or has it helped expand your business? When it comes to technology wise in this creative space, how have you guys adapted? Because technology can change so fast. And have you guys adapted to that? Has it hurt your business, or has it helped you to grow?
I think if I'm talking about the artist career consulting, it's really helped. I think it's made this sort of Zoom communication really possible. And I think before one-on-one, we were trying to have these sort of one-on-one conversations in public spaces with our clients, and it felt like we were taking up a lot of time getting to where we needed to go. Our conversations weren't very sort of intimate. They weren't very vulnerable. And I think when it comes to consultation, the more vulnerable you can be, both as an artist and a consultant, the sort of like deeper you're going to get into whatever potential challenges are facing folks. And I feel like even though we're far from each other physically, the privacy that sort of Zoom gives you to sort of open up is it's been kind of liberating. I feel like I have connected with folks on such a deep level, and we've been able to work through challenges. A lot of the challenges I feel like artists face are they're really emotional, and people feel comfortable opening up about emotional things when they feel privacy. That's not to say that one-on-one face-to-face communication isn't great, but for some reasons Zoom has been a really great tool for that. I think that's the way that I've seen the sort of silver lining of these multiple pandemics that we're all trying to navigate, and this technology that we're all trying to navigate, that becomes sort of an asset.
Great feedback. I would love to hear from the others.
I feel like technology has done a lot for creatives. There's so many different new technologies that have come out. Zoom has made it given us the ability to connect with people in a meeting across the world. What's the Clubhouse is a new social media to where you can basically have, remember we used to put people on three-way, that's basically a big three-way call. But the things that we've learned from them are that they all have their specific powers. I'll just use that word. Like for instance, in Clubhouse, you can say that you're an expert on this, but once you get to talking, the people will determine if you're actually an expert, okay? And so it's done a lot of different things for many different businesses. And I think as a creatives, we're used to adapting. So when the new stuff comes down the pipeline, we figure out how to incorporate it into what it is that we're already doing, or how to use it in a new way. And so the creatives that I've seen utilizing technology have all leveled up, I would say. I don't know if it's made them any money, but they have added another level to what they can speak about, or what they can teach, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and at the cooperative, we're thinking about this too. So we're Pay What You Can, our cooperative for Black folks in Minnesota, in South Minneapolis. We opened in February. We have 91 members. And a part of that is because our programming happens on Zoom, and it has been happening on Zoom since the pandemic. And that helps keep getting the word out in terms of now folks from New York or Detroit or Texas can participate in Black Lives Matter. And so it is still this sort of Black togetherness that can be facilitated online, digitally, virtually. So we're, as a team, thinking about how are the ways that we can virtualize this sort of Black togetherness. So yeah, it's all about that sort of adapting, shape-shifting, thinking about how can we apply our particular craft in a different container. Yeah, still deepen our work and build those relationships, build that base that keeps us going.
Wow, you guys got me thinking across so many avenues with these answers. So I can't thank you all enough for the information you're sharing. Let's kind of transition to what I would say, not that we haven't been there, but let's make a direct transition to this side, the business side. One thing I applauded you all on earlier before we started our call was your level of professionalism. You all were just on point with providing information and getting the information that we needed. So for you all as creative entrepreneurs, what does professionalism look like, or what should it look like?
That's the beauty of being a creative. It could be whatever you want it to be. That's the beauty of being labeled a creative, is you can show up how you show up, and people will get used to this is who this is. And this creative. Like Erykah Badu is professional, okay? Mm-hmm. But she will show up with a tin can on her head, and she's a creative though, and they know that, and so they accept that. And there's no other way you can work with her. She's not going to show up how you want her to show up. She's going to show up how she has created the ability for her to show up as herself. So that's what I feel like as a professional creative. I show up how I want to show up. If you don't like that, then you don't get to work with me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think all of these questions, I think for me, are rooted in the way we're in relationship with each other, and thinking about the intentionality of how we appear to be in relationship with community. That professionalism, for me, the rubric for that is how am I in relationship with folks who are help power the work, give me opportunities to do the work, and discernment around those questions, from emails, from the ways in which you describe how you got to where you are, thinking about all the things that go into you doing your thing as a working artist. But it's all rooted in a sort of caretaking of the relationships that make that work possible. And a lot of that, honestly, is with communication. A lot of, I think, professionalism falls under communication, like how you communicate in your sort of temperament or behavior in those modes of communication. But concretely, like I had phenomenal mentors that brought me in to give me opportunities to, teach programmings, perform, all of these things. And I just took notes on their examples. But that required me being in relationship with, local arts orgs. And so, so just taking notes, and being a witness to phenomenal artists. Yeah.
I think for me, one of the most important parts of professionalism is, I mean, what both of you just said is like the center of mine as well. But what I can add is that I think you want to leave folks better than you found them. And you also, for me, want to, if there was a situation that wasn't ideal for you, how do you make that situation easier, better, more fruitful for somebody who's coming down the road right behind you? And so I think one of the ways that we do that is offering what we didn't get potentially. And obviously, that there has to be discernment. I always discern basically who sort of gets that kind of labor from me. I think in particular, the folks that I hold close to my heart, which are other folks doing justice work, who are other folks doing work that's highly politicized, Black, Brown, Indigenous folks, that's who I'm gonna give that sort of care. I think it really is about care to when it comes to professionalism. I feel like sort of reframing that in terms of care is also like sort of one of the things that I that's where it's sort of centered at.
Hey Brian, can I just add something really quick? I know as those of you that's in this creative space of being entrepreneurs, can you share with the community how important it is to, when you reach a point of success, as you was pointing out with Erykah Badu, and you want to show up the way that you want to, how important it is to have that administrative foundation together so that you can continue to grow? Because a lot of times folks that are entrepreneurs want to do everything, and there does reach a point when you have to consult some things out to make sure that you grow the right way, and then that the professionalism and your brand is there as well. Do you guys see that happening as far as being able to, this is not my particular field as far as technology or something else, let someone else handle that, and I stay in my space and make sure that this part is perfected so that I can grow the right way?
Absolutely. Think about back to Erykah Badu. She has a team
Yes.
behind her. You might not ever get to see her. and get to working with Kevin Hart. I got to work with Kevin Hart, but it was like, okay, Kevin will be here in 7 minutes. Everybody's like, I had to sit down in a chair for him to come sit down in a chair for 7 minutes and then leave and never saw him again. But seeing that let me know that he has an entire system. He has an entire system put in place to make sure that he is able to just be the creative that he needs to be. And so having those systems in place are very important. And I say, those systems are already kind of in your network. Like some of the people that are around you already do some of the things that you might need. So just kind of connecting with, left brain people or people that have more balance in the right and left brain area can help somebody that's like super right brain or left brain. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Well, go ahead, Kino.
No, I always go back to, do what gives you joy and delegate everything else, and I think that for folks who, and for folks who might not have the financial resources for a team, barter, and think about what are the ways, mutual aid could be practiced in the artistic process, until you are able to get that grant or get that financial backing to bring people on to more stable job positions. But yeah, and again, I think that goes back to the ecosystem of community. So I'd say.
I was just going to add that I think having sort of a roster of folks ready who you want to share the work with that that you're not able to take on at the moment. So if you've got 3 projects going, and first obviously knowing your limit, don't add another project that you're not going to be able to be responsive to. I think that's really hard for some folks to do, because I think there is this sort of it's a perception that can also be real, that if we don't take these opportunities when they're offered to us, that we'll miss out. It's the sort of scarcity model, something we talk about at Springboard a lot when we are offering folks opportunity. And we want to tell folks, just because you tell us right now you're not able, that doesn't mean that we're not going to come back to you in the future. And I think as an artist who's potentially saying, what, I've hit my limit this month, I'm looking, 6 months down the road, I'm going to have to tell this person that I can't do their illustration right now, but having the sort of, or just including in there and saying, I'm booked right now, but I really love the work that you're doing. And please, hit me back in 6 months when my calendar is a little bit freer. And then just making a mental note to yourself to sort of stay engaged with that person and stay on top of that relationship, whether it's like showing up to, when the magazine or whatever illustration has an event, or whatever it is, just so that you can sort of stay engaged. That's like really hardcore concrete sort of like, but both having a place to funnel that and say, oh, these are my 5 friends, they're amazing, they do amazing work, and then you share that work. And again, it's the same sort of creating community, creating collaboration rather than competition. And it does come back to you. I've seen it. My husband's a visual artist, and he's my best client. And I've seen how those things kind of are circular.
We got these last few questions I really want to get to, because I really want to get this information out to our audience. And so it's kind of some of the, I won't call them the how-tos, but the kind of what to do's. Let's start with what tools are you all using to organize your life?
So I wrote a list down. So I use Evernote. Look, Evernote is just a note-taking platform. Like, so for me, I need to write something down very, very, very fast, or I need to record something, or I see something and I gotta, get it on paper so I can come back to it. And so Evernote does a good job of me on my phone. I can take a picture, I can write something down, I can say something. It's a great tool to have. And then I can sync all my devices to where I can always look and find that information. And then reviewing all these stuff. Airtable is great for projects and project organization. it's a little in depth. And if it's too in depth, I use oh man, I can't think of what it's called, but I'll come back to that. 17 Hats. 17 Hats is just great for connecting businesses and processing things, invoices, etc. Facebook is a great organizational tool if you use it for the tools that are available on Facebook. And then Square. I use Square for a lot of my business transactions. And every few months they update something in the platform that makes it a lot easier for me to just send an invoice, or like for instance, they added a email reminder to the invoices, and I have never had so many people get email paid in my life. I thought I was bugging people. I was like, I'm not going. If they know the email. No, Square will send you 73 emails like, hey, pay this little $12. And so many people think it's me, it's coming from me, that they feel some type of way, and they'll pay their invoices. And I never had to do anything but click a checkbox in this platform. So there's definitely tools that make a lot of stuff a lot easier, to where you can pay by link or send someone information very easily. You just gotta find them. So that's a list of a couple. What is that other? I'm gonna figure out what that other platform is, and then I'll come back.
All right. Any additions there, Amanda or Kino?
Yeah, I mean, quickly, I would say, think about the story you want to tell for your career in the calendar year. So we're working backwards at the cooperative and thinking about the year in quarters, and thinking about what story do we want to tell by the end of third quarter or fourth quarter. And so goal setting, but on terms of storytelling. And that clues us in to the relationships we need to plug into and keep in conversation with to tell that story. But I think if we think about it in terms of storytelling, it offers a fun reframe to also think about the sort of is the word discipline, or what the logistics of to move on to the next mode of where we want our narrative to be. That's just sort of a sort of conceptual thing that we're doing.
I'm gonna go completely like opposite of the concept, and mine is super tiny nuts and bolts. I mean, everything is, my Gmail is like, the suite is like synced to everything. And I feel like just having everything sort of contained in one space, not having so many different spaces. I mean, there are tools that are super, super helpful, but like Google Tasks has been one of the sort of lowest tech. Yes, if I have it, in the right-hand corner, and I can write it, put a date, and then cross it out, and just, it's done. It feels incredible. That's sort of like the emotional payoff of getting that thing out of the way, and it's just really functional. That, and then labeling my emails, setting those labels up and just saying, okay, this is, I'm sorting them all into the different buckets right when they come in. Another sort of really low-hanging fruit is answering your email, like as soon as you can get it, answered. Sometimes it feels like I live on email. I have a love-hate relationship with that sort of technology. But it is really helpful in not engaging in the sort of like procrastination behavior that I think, sort of like undermines any tool at all. So those are my tips.
You got my vote.
Felicia said,
go ahead.
Felicia said that she organizes her stuff in a handwritten journal. How do you keep up with that? Because I got journals. I got so many raps. I got 93 journals with raps, and I ain't never. I wrote one time. I ain't never looked at them again.
No, I don't write the raps to my mixtapes in my journal. What I was referring to is my thoughts. So, I know we talk a lot about some of these things that we really think about on the professional and business side, but the ability to do all these things that y'all do. I know Bruce knows this. Amanda spoke to this as one of the main things she's consulting artists through is their mental, what's going on in their minds. And so for me, one of the ways I manage that, I've really had to manage it, especially as a creative person in this particular role, is I have very much leaned on journals, and I handwrite them. I don't type those. But there has been something about actually putting that pen and that ink to the paper and the way that it feels, and just like moving my hand, even if it's gibberish, even if my hands are tired and shaking, but getting those thoughts out and being able to process just what I'm experiencing has really helped me organize other things. And I notice, like I'll notice when I'm feeling like scatterbrained at work is when I have not been journaling as much, and I'm perhaps still processing a lot, but like trying to do it as I'm going through life and working. So I just wanted to offer up that particular tool around folks' even mental health and their just mental capacity as a way to like dump information. And if you're a creative that's always got stuff going, I just handwrite it instead of doing Evernote like Bruce does. But yeah, that's what I do.
I'm going to wrap these last two questions together because I want you all to have adequate time to really touch on these things because I think they're important. So here we are, and we're probably going to end up closing out on these. As a creative entrepreneur, how do you locate grants and contracts to apply for? And is there a specific format to follow in your application? First question. And then the next question that we'll close out on, are there organizations that can help you navigate the art entrepreneur spaces?
Neon, I'm sorry.
Community, talking to your community, talking to other people that operate in your space, talking to people that are looking for people that operate in your spaces. A lot of times when you go over into the more structural side of things, sometimes creative, we stay in the creative side, but when you go and you jump into the more structural side of things and start to talk to the people who have more structure built in, they can kind of point you in the right directions as to where to go. And then also, like, a lot of that stuff is right on the internet. If you go to the state websites and that type of thing, you'll be able to find a lot of the information for resources for a creative entrepreneur.
I would say, I mean, I'm just going to promote Springboard for the arts. I used Springboard for the Arts website before I even became an artist career consultant. It's pretty comprehensive. We have so much free content. Sometimes it feels overwhelming. The Work of Art series, I think, is probably one of the best sort of like entrepreneurial training that's out there. It's free. Meeting with an artist career consultant, that's Felicia and I both are artist career consultants for Springboard. As a consultant, I've met with other consultants. That's the really cool, what Keno talks about is that sort of like, circular sort of work that we're doing. But yeah, just check out our website, sign up. I think one of the things that I do is I sign up for the newsletters of places that I really want to hear from, and I add them to come out of the sort of like spam filter or wherever in my, address book. So they hit my inbox. If it's really content rich, I want to be reading those and just kind of filtering out the junk.
Yeah, I second everything that everyone said. I would say checking out art councils, and usually they have listed people who have received grants, and tapping into those artists and seeing if they know of any other opportunities, but also I would, and sorry for the siren, our cooperative is right next to a fire station. So, and I would say being open to feedback on grant applications, either from program officers or people who have received grants before, and just the importance again on continued conversation, because your network is your net worth. So, and then that brings other opportunities.
I was thinking when we had this luncheon on the calendar that we were going to need more time. And so I'm sorry we weren't able to get to audience questions. Audience, if you have any questions that you want answered, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll make sure we get them to our panelists and get their point of view on them. Let's give our panelists a great big hand today, you guys. You guys were wonderful, as I knew you would be. Thank you so much for taking out a time, and I thank you personally for my professionalism, because this is the most rest I've ever had preparing for a luncheon. So thank you guys so much. Felicia, you want to close us out with final remarks?
Thank y'all.
Yes, I will, and I'll have to unmute as I do that. I want to thank everyone for attending this month's Northside Business Luncheon. Y'all know that creative entrepreneurs always have a special place in my heart. Shout out to all the entrepreneurs out there. If you missed this one or you didn't catch the whole thing, you will be able to see this both. It'll be still on the West Broadway Facebook page, but we will be publishing it to the Northside Business Luncheon YouTube channel as well. And we'll send the links to all of that out to everyone who registered for today's luncheon. And if by chance you want to share this with someone, just send them that registration link. We'll keep that registration link open for folks today if you want to register later, so you can get like all the, what do we call it? The stuff after the jump. So yeah, if there's nothing else, that's it from me. If you want to turn on your video.
Shout out to Wendy's House of Soul, who catered our luncheon for today. Thank you so much.
Not forget Wendy's House of Soul.
If
Yeah.
you got some food from Wendy's, you've been sold.
Go get sold. The food is at Neon's location at 10:07. Okay, yeah, I'm trying to remember you all's number. 10:07 West Broadway.
There you go.
And Maypa will be there handing out some stuff. Maypa, if there are any taco rolls, save me one.
Will do.
All right, say goodbye to Facebook, everybody. Thank you to all our panelists. I appreciate
Thank you so much, everyone.
Peace.
Peace.